We Make Movies is recorded in front of a live audience in Los Angeles and is hosted by WeMakeMovies.org. Hello and welcome back to another episode of How We Make Movies. I'm Amanda Lippert, your host. So tonight we'll be talking with J.D. Walsh and Elizabeth Triplett. He is the director, executive producer, and writer. She's the co-producer, writer, and actress for Battleground, Hulu's first original scripted series. Please, audience, welcome our guests, J.D. Walsh and Elizabeth Triplett.
Thank you. Nice.
Are you guys currently on hiatus?
Not really. We haven't really had a break. We came back from shooting and went into the edit room for the first season, and then immediately into writing after that. It was basically just a break for like the Christmas holiday. And
yeah, it's basically a 4-person team, me and Elizabeth, and then our producers, Hagai and Jared. And so, what we figured out is those 4 people can make 13 episodes of a TV show if that's all you do with your life. So that's all we do with our lives is that.
I love that you guys got your start as performers.
Yep.
Because so many performers end up coming to LA, trying for a lot of years and then burning out. And you guys found a way to create your own work. And that's the ultimate win story, I think.
Yeah.
What was the shift for you that caused you to kind of want to get on the other side of the camera?
See, I've been auditioning since, I don't know, 96. And I'd made a living as being that guy from that thing that you can't remember. And
so many guys like that.
Yeah, I'm that guy. Yeah. And I realized that at some point, instead of holding on to this dream of acting, which is, you kind of have this feeling of like you need to win in acting, like you have this feeling like it's a radio contest, like Hands on a Hard Body, and you're just gonna hold on to the car longer than anybody.
When you get your Oscar, that's when you
Yeah, it's because I've been here, because I peed my pants waiting for the other contestants to drop.
Yes.
And then at some point it becomes very clear that like maybe you've gone on too long and you could have created in other ways and created your own projects.
Yeah. And I saw on your IMDb you have no other writing credits, no other directing credits, no other executive producing credits, and then bam.
My take is you get one shot with your friends who have agents. Right. So make sure it's a good shot. Make sure it is like, hey, I know this is awkward, but I'd love for you to read this script. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not going to read a second script, especially if the first one's not good. Yeah. So I was like, all right, let's go and direct this. So I put together $20,000. I called my mom and my uncle. Again, you get one shot with them to say like, hey, could you give me some money? And they gave me $20,000, and we went to Madison and we filmed it. We filmed it in 4 days. And that was, I think, the real moment. That was the moment where now I had something tangible. I had some, this is what we spent our money on. We spent our money on a good editor, great sound, and a DP. Those were the most important things. Everything else, the actors worked for free. We put them up in apartments with friends. I mean, everything else was as cheap as you could be, but an editor, a DP, and sound. Those were the most important. Yeah. So we made it. I showed it to my managers. They dug it. Showed it to Mark, who had liked the script, but was like, I don't know what to do with this, but it's a nice script. Right. And all of a sudden he was like, hey, let me take this to my agents. And that's when it changed. What they were able to see in our team was the idea of this dude's going to write it and this dude's going to produce it. Right. And if we give them X amount of dollars, we're going to get this. Yeah. And that was crucial. I think also it helped that Mark Webb's name was attached to it so that there was some sort of like press release of it. I think that helped. And then in the end, I think they also liked it. But those other aspects, especially the producer part.
You put that at the very, very, very end.
Yeah.
And they might have liked it.
Yeah, I mean,
all these other things lined up, and they probably.
Yeah, but don't we kind of go through life like that, just feeling like people just are like okay with what you did? I mean, we rarely are just like, man, we're awesome. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't want to be those crazy people who think they're awesome that are talentless. You know how the city is just kind of full of like people who just have websites and flyers, and I got this show, and you just know it's just surrounding a piece of poop. And I just never wanted to be that guy.
I'm always a little jealous of those people, though.
Yes.
Like, what? If I only had.
No, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. That means you're talented. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you use a lot of improv in the show? It seems very off the cuff.
He creates an environment that is incredibly comfortable, and he writes a script that is great, and it's words that the actors want to say, but then there also is this feeling of like, I don't have to nail it, I don't have to get it perfect.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to make JD mad is if I stop and apologize.
Oh.
Like, just don't stop. Just keep going with it and just be a real person, because real people sometimes stutter and real people sometimes can't think of a word, and it happens, and just to go with it, because you'll sometimes find the best moments right after when you do like what you think is a huge mistake, and in those moments, like so many of those moments are in our show.
One of the things about improv and acting is you can't try harder, you can only be. You can prepare more. You can I'm all about preparation. But you know what they didn't know when I would go in for those auditions is that my effortlessness with the lines was 10 hours of preparation. So that moment I walked through the door, I just seemed like, oh, I just kind of have these lines, and oh, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I felt from my training that I started with Meisner, and then I did Adler and a bunch of other techniques, and then have kind of moved into improv. I feel like it's all the same thing, just different wording in a way. It's just like living in the moment and like creating this reality and letting this be what it is.
You hear it a lot when people say like, hey, just go through casting one time and you learn so much. I think the thing that we learned the most is we would have these people come in with huge resumes and just like the best schools in the country. And amazing training, but what that was built on was nerves. And so they would come in, and no matter what their training was, it was all about they were so nervous. And this was at the time we were a web series that nobody had ever heard of, and it was for very little money. So it's about as low stakes as you can get when it comes to theatrical auditions. I mean, we weren't auditioning in the Valley, which was always a red flag for me. But you know.
Will you take your shirt off?
Yeah. I didn't have those, but I guess we lived two different paths. Mine was always, could you put your shirt back on? No, it's my process. So they would come in and they would be so nervous, and if I was going to teach acting again, if I was going to really build a theater, I wouldn't work on technique at all. I would just work on nerves.
One of the things that JD used to have hanging in his theater at Ultimate Improv was a little plaque that says, "What would you do if you knew you could not fail?" And I feel like JD lives his life by that, and I think I can speak on behalf of the other actors in Battleground.
If it's positive, yeah.
JD Walsh can suck a big one.
Thank you so much, guys.